Come on in, everyone. Come on in because we are here for the Never Ever Mets Season 1, Episode 4. I'm back, y'all. I'm back and I'm right on time. My voice may not be all the way back, so I got my little honey ginger lemon tea here to help me along the way. But my mind is here. That's a good thing. And my mind is here to talk about this crazy episode with Crazy Chris. Are we sick of him? Are we all sick of him? I know we are. I know we're sick of him. This episode was called DISS Connections, like DISS. Why you dissing me? Because he was straight up dissing Sandia. You know, when we first met Chris, he said that, remember he was telling the story that he likes to date women, multiple women, for 3 days, and then he likes to go away for a couple of weeks. Maybe they want to go away from him because I don't know who could put up with Chris for more than 1 day. He's a mess. He's a complete mess. And this Jody, we gonna dig into her too. Jody, JoAnna, whatever she want to call herself, nickname, birth name, whatever it is. We're gonna talk about her because we're gonna peel back what she thinks is going on. Now I know, you know what? Let me go back. This episode proves how two people can be in alignment, but they're not really on the same page. Hear me again. Two people can be in alignment, but they're not really on the same page. This has happened to me a lot of times. For instance, let's say you are out doing some volunteer work. Okay, you feeding the homeless. You're there and another person is there. You're there because you have a heart to give to the homeless. You really want to do good for the community. The other person that's there, you think that they're there for the same reason because they have a heart for the community. But as you talk to them, you find out that the only reason they're there is because they were ordered court mandated community service. That's Jody and Chris. When Chris was arguing about, I'm not really attracted to Jody, there's nothing going on with me and Jody, he was correct. He was arguing from his truth because I said it last week. He's not interested in Jody. But let me tell you something. Jody does like Chris. But the reason why Chris says he's on the same page with Jody is because Jody agrees with everything he says. See, Chris wants a fan club. He wants you to agree with everything he says, all his thoughts, all his beliefs. And then he wants to tell you if you have any thought that is different from him, any feeling that is different from him, you're the one that's insecure. You're the one with the problem. You're the one that's difficult to deal with. You're the problem. So the reason why he likes Jody is because Jody is part of his fan club. Jody is a part of his fan clubs. And what she does is she co-signs on whatever he says and whatever he does. But Jody got a little bit of a problem. Jody has a little bit of a problem, and her problem is she's running around trying to pretend like she's so evolved in the area of sex. That's her thing. Remember, she got on here talking about she was a sexologist or she's been trained in the sexual world and all this other kind of stuff, but yet she run around dating a gay man. Why is she dating him? To make him come out? To make him realize his sexuality? No, that's not why she's dating him. A lot of women hang out with gay men because they safe. Because what they know is the relationship is never going to go any further. They have difficulty making emotional connections with heterosexual men, but they want the company of a man, so they pick a gay man. That's Jody. Jody has difficulty making emotional connections with men, period. And so then what she tries to do is she tries to say, well, we can just have sex. What's the purpose of having sex? And then she puts down all the other women who say, no, I don't want it just to have sex. I want an emotional connection with my sex. And then Jody wants to put them down and start telling women, you need to be more like men. No, we don't, Jody. We don't need to be like you. You need to go see a therapist. Because you sitting over here dating a gay man that you don't really like, but you're dating him because somehow or another you're trying to build an emotional connection with a man and you haven't been able to. And then you're sitting over here agreeing with Chris Because now all of a sudden you getting excited over the fact that, oh, maybe I'm building an emotional connection with Chris. No, you're not. You are his pawn. You are part of his fan club. He is only using you to prove himself right to the others. That's what he's using you for. He's not interested in you. He's not interested in being with you. You are a pawn. You are his co-signer. You are his fan club. But you over here thinking, oh, if I just keep co-signing on Chris, that means I'm finally doing what I've been trying to do, and that is building an emotional connection with a man. Jody sat up here and told us when she was talking to the group that, hey, women need to date more like a man, and maybe if women took so much emotion out of sex, they wouldn't get so hurt. Is that what you doing, Jody, out here? Trying to keep yourself from getting hurt? That's why you're dating gay men, because you know that it's not going to go anywhere? Well, then if you're so good at having sex without an emotional connection, why aren't you and Aaron in the boom boom room? That's what I want to know. How could you be talking to Chris about you can have sex in the first couple of weeks, first 3 weeks, but yet you keep talking about you want to take it slow with Aaron. You want to be organic. Go to the boom boom room and do your thing then. Go do your thing. But you know what? I might be getting too far ahead of myself. I really might be getting too far ahead of myself. But these two, this episode, between Chris and Jody, they irritated me. And Aaron too. Aaron irritated me too. We know they're not together, y'all. We know they're not together because when all the conversation was going on around Jody and Aaron was over there talking, well, if Jody's so outspoken, if she really liked him, she would have said something. Why are you having this kind of conversation if this is supposed to be your woman? This is not your woman. This is not your woman. This is the same scenario I talked about. This is a woman who can't connect with men, deciding she does want some part of male energy around her, so she chooses the next best option, which is a gay man. She gets half and half man, half woman. Jody needs to go to the therapist. Instead of Jody coming up with this whole storyline about how she's sexually liberated and she's here to teach sexology and using sex to bypass emotional intimacy because she can't seem to find a way to have emotional intimacy. So she legitimizes it with this field of study that she has, which I'm okay with the field of study, but she's using it as her excuse for not having emotional connection. That's a whole nother reason. It's a difference between studying that field and then using it as your excuse not to have an emotional connection with a man so that you can have intimacy, real intimacy. We're talking about intimacy, not sex. That's why she had a problem when she was even doing the Kama Sutra. She talk a good game, but she don't know how to walk the game she talking. And Chris, good Lord, we're going to get into him. The only person who really got it, Chris, the only person that got it Chris good this episode was Dymond. And I don't even, be honest with you, I don't think Dymond should have been doing all what she was doing. Dymond might need to learn to only take up for people who want to be taken up for. And at this moment in time, Sandia wasn't asking for her help. So she kind of overinserted herself. I commend her for her thoughts, her upsetness, her all the feelings she had for Chris, because I felt it too. But she went a little bit too far. You can say one thing or two things, but you also got to read the room. And she started talking about how she was out on a limb all by herself. And her man told her, I thought you had it. And she felt all alone. She felt all alone because she walked out on the bridge all by herself. She didn't get consensus before she went out there. And then when she walked out there, she looked behind her and said, ain't nobody follow me? No, because a lot of people don't want to get in other people's business all the time, Dymond. And she might need to learn that lesson. I'm not for sure why Dymond always wants to insert herself in between the couples. We saw her trying to do it with Dominique and Alexis before they left. And now she's doing it here with Sandia and Chris. And Sandia didn't really ask for the help. Okay, sometimes you need to let people ask for the help before you go in and trying to insert yourself. Because sometimes who are you inserting yourself for? Is it because it's the role you like to play, or are you really there to help the person? Because I'm not even quite sure that Sandia appreciates the help from Dymond. So Dymond need to learn her lessons too, and that is stay out of other people's business so much. Last week she was busy getting her toes sucked by her man Aaron with the painted fingernails. Instead of trying to get to the bottom of what's going on with Sandia and Chris, we need some answers from you, Dymond, about these painted fingernails. That's what we want to know. We want you to stick to your relationship. We want to know who is this woman that he proposed to, and why is he running around with painted fingernails? We don't need you in the business of Chris and Sandia. We got that over there. But you might want to concentrate on your own relationship. And then you might want to concentrate on, instead of sticking your foot up the butt of Chris and kicking him in the butt, you might want to know why your man is over there sucking on your feet like it's a 5-piece chicken meal. All that seems strange to me. All of it. I wonder if Aaron gonna want to suck on them feet and eat them feet again. Because like I said, it ain't sucking toes, it's eating feet. Is he gonna want to eat those feet again after she done stuck that whole foot up the ass of Chris? Next time he suck on them toes, he's going to be tasting the ass of Chris, because that's where Dymond stuck that whole foot in this episode. But we're going to talk about that as well. We also going to have to talk about Millie and Greg. I told y'all last week, I was starting to feel a little something about Millie, that Millie might actually be the one that's been putting the brakes on in this relationship with Greg, even though they're in the city of LA and only 30 minutes apart and haven't seen each other. And this episode made me feel even more comfortable with saying she had a big part of not wanting to see him. She wasn't pressuring to see him because she's stalling. She was stalling for time, because we find out that Millie has her own insecurities, her own fear of rejection. And so the longer she can prevent a man from getting to know her, the longer the relationship can last. That's in her mind. Because what she's thinking is, soon as you get to know me, you're going to leave me. So maybe I ought to drag out not getting to know you, and then the relationship will last longer. So her best bet is to have an online relationship and drag out the relationship before you actually get to the real intimacy part. And we're finding out that is a big issue in her life. At least we got our answers. We were wondering, how can you be in the same city and not meet each other? How does that happen? Well, it happens when people don't really want to meet each other. That's when it happens, when people really don't want to meet each other. And it sounds like that there was no rush to meet each other. And Millie obviously didn't want to meet Greg too soon, because in her mind, she thinks that once you get to know me, it will lead to rejection and you will leave me. Very sad. We'll talk about that a little bit more. And then not much going on with Shay and Josh this episode. Josh is just like, yeah, I ain't got to eat dinner with these people. I just want to eat. All Josh wants to do is eat and have sex up there in that seedy motel room of the Boom Boom Room. I would not be going to that Boom Boom Room. That's gone from being maybe the Marriott Hotel to being some seedy motel Super 8 on Highway 85. They done turned the Boom Boom Room into a seedy motel on Highway 85. Make a left. Ugh. Not me. Next thing you know, it's going to be bed bugs up in there. A seedy motel room with some bed bugs. No, thank you. And Brandon did what he needed to do. He took care of business and he told Sienna, no, I'm not interested in no romantic connection with you going forward. Good for Brandon. I'm glad he stood up to Sienna. Sienna walked in here in this season, talk about, this who I am. I'm from New York. I'm from the Bronx. Take me or leave me. And she's finding out everybody's going to be leaving her. Leaving her. See, this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. In one hand, you have people who walk around who say, everybody leaves me. Nobody wants to be around me. Nobody wants to be in a relationship with me. But then when people come to you and tell you, these are the things that make it difficult for me to be in a relationship with you, those people then say, too bad. This is who I am. Take me or leave me. Well, that's what we're doing. We leaving you. So you can, in one way, cry and lament over the fact that you can't be in a relationship. You can't keep no job. You can't work with colleagues. You only can work from home because you can't get along with nobody in the workplace. You can't get along with a boyfriend. You can't get along with girlfriends. You can't get along with people. But then you want everybody to accept you as you are. No. The only person running around talking about come as you are is Jesus. That's it. Everybody else is saying, no, I need some changes. So until you're ready to do some changing, you're not ready for a relationship. And Sienna ain't ready to do no changes. She said they got a solid platonic relationship, but they need to work on the more romantic relationship. And Brandon said, no, we ain't need to work on that. We don't need to go no further than what it's going, because what he realized is these 20-minute FaceTime calls we end up having, that's the best it's going to get. Because anything past that, Sybil comes out. Sienna only has about a 20-minute period where she can talk. Because after that, Sybil comes out and takes over the entire conversation. And then Sienna don't remember nothing that Sybil said. And she makes a bunch of excuses. All Brandon was trying to do was tell the girl, can you listen to me a little bit more? He couldn't even get out the sentence before Sienna chimed in and says, you full of shit. Just waiting. Bring me in. Sybil is always sitting on the sideline of Sienna. Bring me in. Put me in, Sienna. Put me in. And Sienna says, yeah, come on in, Sybil. Take over this. And Sybil comes in, crashes the party, says, you full of shit. But Sienna don't want to handle Sybil. She don't want to handle Sybil at all. She goes, Sybil is from the Bronx. She's from New York. She's going to do what she wants to do. She's going to be who she wants to be. Sienna's a nice, sweet girl. Right? She's a nice, sweet girl, very well presentable, kind, caring, beautiful, nice, can say some nice things over here. But then she got this Sybil who talks about how she's from the New York and Bronx. Both of them need to go to a therapist's office and possibly get some medication. I'm going to say that. And possibly get some medication. Sybil over here say, you full of shit, you criticize, and the things I ask of you are small. Well, what about the things he asks of you? Can he finish a sentence? Can he finish a sentence? Can he have a thought? Can he have an opinion? Can he have a feeling? Is any of this allowed in the world of Sybil without being badgered and put down for it? Even Rashonda, whatever her name is, she's doing a good job. She tried to say, girl, sis, your delivery is horrible. But it's really bigger than the delivery. It's even the thought. Okay? Because some thoughts don't even need to be delivered. And some thoughts shouldn't even be thought. And the thoughts that come out of Sybil's mind shouldn't even come up in her mind, let alone be spoken. So it's more than delivery, Rashonda. I'm going to tell you, it's the actual thought. It's the actual thought that when a person says to you that I want you to listen to me a little bit more, that your thought is you're full of shit, as opposed to thinking about, okay, what does that person want to say? Your thought is the problem. Your tongue is the second problem. She got two problems, her thoughts and her tongue. That's why I tell you it's mental. It's mental. It's not just simply about self-control, controlling the tongue. It's a two-parter. It's a mental issue and it's also a tongue issue. That's why she needs some medical help. She tell her you've been doing it for a long time. We know it's been around for a long time. She told us that men have told her in the past that she's a flip-flopper, that two people show up, more than one person shows up in the relationship. People have been telling her this for a long, long time. She needs to listen to it. She needs to take heed to it. She needs to go to talk to someone. This isn't the fault of the partner that she's in a relationship with. She's got to realize that. Because if she doesn't realize that, she's just going to keep getting left. She's going to keep getting left by people, and she's going to keep feeling sorry about herself, feeling bad about herself, getting depressed about herself, and she's not going to get to where she wants to be. She needs help. She's trying to do this all on her own, but she can't do it all on her own. She needs some help. But Brandon did right. He said, nope, I'm out. I don't care what your problem is, what you need to do, whether it's masculine energy, whether you from the Bronx, whether you from, I don't care where you from. I'm out, because like Josh said, energy doesn't get destroyed. It gets transferred. And the longer you're around a person like Sienna, that energy will get transferred to you, and it will start bringing you down. So the best you can do is you can say, hey, I suggest you go get some help. I suggest you talk to someone, but I'm not the one that you beat up on. I'm not the one that you're going to pound on while you sit here in pain and disruption. Your mind is in disruption. Your tongue is in disruption. And I have to be the one to sit here and take it and stand by you so that you don't feel like you being left. Nope. People have a responsibility to get better. People who always got all these issues, they think it's the responsibility of everybody else to stick by them while they're down this low. No, I will support you if you're on the road to healing. I will support you if you're on the road to getting better. But I'm not going to stick around with a person who has decided that they're not a problem, that I'm the problem, and they're not even willing to go get any help with it. And all they want to sit around and talk about is, I'm from New York, I'm from the Bronx, this is what I do, take it or leave it. Bye. Thank you for my options. Take it or leave it. I'm going to take option number 2, leave it. Bye. And another person that needs to say bye is Sandia. She needs to say bye to Chris. But we can all see, many of us probably can see, she ain't going to say bye to him. They're both Haitian. They have this connection with their culture. And somehow I feel as if Sandia believes this is how she should be in relationship with Chris. And Chris has convinced her that this is the way it should be too. I don't know if it's culturally rooted. I have no idea. But something tells me that Sandia thinks this is normal, or not too far off the normal. Part of her knows it's not right because she keeps saying, I don't want you putting me down. But another part of her feels as if she doesn't have the option to walk away. She just has to keep begging and pleading for this man to treat her differently. But yet she can't walk away. Sandia, you're not married to Chris. You aren't married to Chris. You don't have an obligation to work through this issue with him in this sort of deep issue, and you're not even in marriage with him. I could see if you were married to him, you want to put forth a bit more effort in solving this issue before you throw your whole marriage away, seeing if maybe you could go to counseling and fix this issue so that you could preserve the marriage. But you're not married. And what you're seeing is you're seeing the red flags. And these red flags are red flags that you should walk away from. You see, sometimes you don't see red flags until you're married. And then sometimes you do because you're married. Say, well, let's try to work through the red flags. Let's go to counseling. Let's do these things together because we see the red flags, but we're in a marriage. We're going to try to work through it. But you have the benefit, Sandia, of seeing the red flags before marriage. And what you should do with these red flags is you should walk away. You should walk away. You're not in a marriage. You have no children with this man. You need to walk away. Because not only does he have red flags, he doesn't recognize that they're red flags. He believes he's in the right, and he has no desire, no willing to do anything different. He doesn't think he's wrong. He doesn't want to listen to anyone else. He doesn't want to go to counseling. You need to pull a Brandon. You need to do a Brandon and say, you know what, at this point in time, we don't need to have a romantic relationship. This thing that Chris is doing with Jody, as I mentioned earlier, has nothing to do at all with him liking Jody. He does not like Jody. Jody doesn't even have the real personality that Chris would like, because Chris likes a submissive personality and Jody doesn't have that, and he knows it. But what he's willing to take from Jody in this moment is the fact that she is a soldier for him. She is co-signing on whatever he says, and he's using her for that. Not because he's interested in her, because he likes her to be his foot soldier, to be out here part of his fan club. And like I said, Jody's over here so hungry for an emotional connection with a man because she don't know how to have one, that she's taking whatever she can get. She's so willing to be the foot soldier for Chris that she's willing to throw Sandia under the bus and not even recognize Sandia's emotions. Sandia is over here hurt over the fact that you, Jody, are over here showing an over amount of trying to connect with her man. And instead of acknowledging Sandia, you acknowledge Chris. Why do you acknowledge Chris? Because acknowledging Chris means it's acknowledging you, Jody. You see, acknowledging Chris and Chris's fact that he's rude, he says mean things, that he doesn't acknowledge people's feelings, he has no emotional connection with people. By acknowledging him is a way of acknowledging herself. Because what she sees is she sees herself in him. They both don't have no emotional connection to people. People keep thinking that Chris doesn't like Sandia. I don't really say that. I think that he does like Sandia. I think what he struggles with connecting emotionally with a woman, period. And because Sandia is more docile, she's more sweet, she's more submissive, it is his best hope for connecting with a woman who won't push back on him. But now Sandia is starting to push back. Now that they hear in public, one-on-one, she's pushing back. See, when they were just dating online, when Sandia didn't want to hear none of this no more, she could get off the phone. She could cut off the FaceTime. But now that they're here in person, she got to deal with it 24/7. She got to take the blows continuously. She can't click off. She can't send it to voicemail. She can't not return a text. She got to deal with it head on, and now she's overwhelmed. Sandia told Jody to her face, "It makes me uncomfortable to see the way you're interacting with my man." And Jody looked at her and basically said, "I don't care, so what?" Because what Jody wanted to do was to continue receiving what she was receiving. And what Jody was receiving from this deal was feeling as if she had a connection with a man, and she don't never have no emotional connection with a man. She ain't got, that's why she's going to keep doing it. Jody was hooked on the connection, the feeling she was getting, so much so that she was willing to let Sandia continue to suffer. Chris is so devoid of feelings his own self and even recognizing someone else's feelings that he says, because you have feelings, your mood changes, and I can't deal with your mood changes. No, feelings aren't mood changes. And the way that he is gaslighting this girl, poof, making her believe as if the thoughts that she is having are coming somewhere from like Mars or Pluto. And then he got the fan club over here with Jody and Aaron over here co-signing on it, making her further feel that she is just crazy and believing the way she feels. You ain't crazy, Sandia. They the crazy ones. They're the ones with the problem. Sandia actually has done a good job in expressing her emotions. She has told this man, "You try to make me feel small. You don't need to make me feel small." Hasn't just been quiet. She has told the man how she feels. She's told Jody, okay, that it makes me uncomfortable. She's told Chris, "You make me feel small." Every moment where she has actually told them the way she feels, they both have dismissed her and told her, "I don't care how you feel. All that I care about is how I feel." And all Chris cares about is being right, being in charge, and not having to worry about anyone else's feelings but his own. That's all he cares about. He has no emotional connection or attention to Sandia. Well, that's why I said, and I think that is different from not liking her. He likes her, and what he said was, she's wife material. She's wife material, and that's what he sees in her. But he also does not have any emotional connection to her or any other woman, because you can't connect to a person if you're not willing to even think about or give their emotions any type of consideration. How can you connect to a person emotionally if you're not even willing to consider their emotions? And that's what he's doing to Sandia. His own opinions, his own thoughts, his own feelings are more important than Sandia's. That's the problem. It's not that he don't like her, it's that he feels he's more important than her. His are more important, and there is the problem. When this man told her your feelings are invalid, I was like, boy, oh boy, where is Sybil? Sybil need to come over here and handle Chris. Sybil needs to come over here and handle Chris. And good kudos to Rashawn and say, listen, validating someone's feelings, understanding someone's feelings doesn't always have to mean you completely agree with them. I really wish people would learn this nuance. You can understand a person, where a person is coming from, how they could have come to the point of where they are, even though that may not have been your intention, that may not have been what you were trying to convey. Both can be true. People's feelings can be valid on how they feel, how they perceive you, and it can be true that that may not be the intentions on what you were trying to do. But the first step for you even trying to solve the problem in order to solve correcting your behavior so maybe that person doesn't feel that way is you first got to acknowledge their feelings. And this man sat here in front of Sandia and told her, your feelings are not valid. Sandia needs to run. She needs to run. This is way too much work to be doing with a person when you're only in a virtual relationship. You're not even in a real relationship where you see each other every day. This is a virtual relationship. You can break off this relationship just by blocking him. He don't know where you live. He don't know nothing else. This needs to go nowhere. The type of work that Chris needs, Sandia can't help him with it. He needs a really strong professional. LaShonda tried to get them to go to therapy. And Chris says, I don't need no help. No, he don't want no help. He needs the help, but he don't want no help because he doesn't want another person telling him about himself. He wants to stay in his whole delusional world that he's in, thinking that he's right, that he's got all the answers, and that everything he thinks and believes is what's true, and whatever everyone else thinks is not true. When she told him, you trying to make me feel inferior to you, he said, that's not my problem, that's yours. You're the one with the insecurities. What you talking about? So what you're saying is I'm insecure because I can't keep taking the blows from you. So if someone's constantly punching you in your face with a fist, is it my problem because my face can't take your licks? Or is your problem because you keep punching me in my face and I keep telling you, you punching me in my face and it's hurting me. But I'm the problem because I can't take your licks. So when Sandia is telling him, your words are making me feel inferior, and you say, that's not my problem, that's your problem, that means you're insecure. What? So you don't have to do nothing? What you're trying to tell me is I got to keep toughening up? This is some narcissistic bullshit. She needs to run from him. She tried to tell him we need to work on our communication issues. He said, no, I ain't got no communication issues. This man is a fool. A fool. I hope he watching back himself on this show. I really hope Chris is watching himself back on this series and is looking at himself and saying, what the heck was I doing? I hope this is an SOS 911 emergency wake-up call to him. That right now, even though this show might have been taped a year ago, whenever it was taped, that right now he's sitting in a therapist's office doing some deep therapy. He got it right when he said that we are the opposite, he and Sandia. They are the opposite because she's sweet and kind and he's mean and evil. That may be one thing he does resent about her. Sometimes when people don't have the ability to feel and be empathetic, they really hate people who have that ability. They really look down on them. That's the stuff that Jody's going through because Jody don't know how to do it. She gets mad at other people who know how to do it, and she looks down. Because sometimes it helps normalize who you are. He talking about he sees a future with Sandia. I know he does. I know he sees a future because what he's realizing is the type of woman that Sandia is, that's his best bet. Because any other woman like a Millie, any other woman like a Sienna, a Dymond, any other woman here on earth, any other type of woman is going to have a problem with Chris. And what Chris is recognizing is he's been around a lot of women. And the woman that he's with now, Sandia, is his best bet. But the problem is his healing is going to come at the expense of Sandia. His healing is going to come at the expense of Sandia. Even if he gets better in this relationship, it's going to come at such a heavy price for Sandia. Even if he gets better, she is going to get beat up on so much, that is really going to destroy her. It really is a no-win for her. She needs to break up with him. He needs to go off and do this work on his own. She cannot be the punching bag for him. She will not sustain this. She will not be able to survive this. The level of punching that he does to this woman is atrocious. And he's got these fan club people sitting around co-signing him, like Jody and the other Aaron. You know, this is the second time Aaron has co-signed on some bad behavior by a man. Remember the last time when Dymond was in that kitchen doing all that physical violence against Alexis, you had Aaron sitting over there drinking a glass of water, watching the whole thing, not intervening. And now you see Chris over here verbally abusing Sandia and saying nasty things. And not only did he not step in, he's sitting over here co-signing on it as well. He's a problem as well. He's a problem as well. His lack of knowing who he is and showing up who he really is a problem for me. It really is. And it's a problem in a lot of different ways. When Chris started calling Sandia weak-minded and saying she was being wrongly influenced by all the women in the house, that's why all this is happening. It's not because of who he is. It's because she's weak-minded, and it's because of the women. So it's everybody else's problem. It's Dymond problems because she's too over-assertive. It's weak-minded Sandia's problem. It's not his problem. I was glad all them people didn't have dinner with them. I was glad they went over to the seedy motel room and said, we're going to sit over here and have dinner on the couch with these bed bugs. And Aaron over here talking about, why you bringing up why we cooking? Why are you bringing up why we cooking? What better time to bring it up when we want to bring it up? You don't seem like you want to address situations head on, Aaron. It don't seem like there's never a good time to talk about serious situations because you still over here hiding the fact that you gay. So I don't know when you think is the appropriate time to talk about conversations. But I'm with Big Aaron. I'm going to start calling gay Aaron, little Aaron, and the other Aaron, Big Aaron. Because Big Aaron, the one that likes to eat feet, said, listen, I ain't eating no person's food that's talking mean. Somebody in the kitchen cooking angry. I heard that, Big Aaron. I ain't eating nobody's food when they mad at me. No, thank you. But when they went over there to that boom boom room, the city motel room with the bed bugs, Dymond was still mad, but she didn't confront her man. It's so funny because Dymond was mad that Aaron didn't back her up. And she said, you know, hey, I thought you was going to back me up. And he says, oh, I thought you had it. She didn't have no strong words for him. She also didn't have no strong words from him when I guess he proposed to another woman on Facebook. So Dymond seemed like she real good at chiming back at other people's men, but maybe she need to go ahead over there and start checking her own man. But before she go out on the limb and start checking people out in public, she better get consensus first that everybody is up for that same game plan. Because like I said, she went hard. She went hard in on Chris. And I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. But then when she did it, she was mad that nobody was backing her up. But she didn't get consensus. Not everybody wants to handle the situation the exact same way. So before you decide you're going to be the leader and you're going to go out on the rah-rah bridge and you're going to hype it up and you're going to do what you do, but then you expecting some backup, you better make sure you get consensus before you go out there. And to be honest with you, I think Dymond went a little too long and a little too far in the situation with Sandia and Chris. That's what I think. Because even when Dymond was talking about to Millie, Millie was on the same page with her. But you see that when they skipped dinner, it was not Millie and Greg who went over there to that boom boom room to have dinner. Millie and Greg sat right there at that table and had dinner with everyone else. So even when she thought she had the consensus of a Millie, even though Millie agreed with her, the way that Millie wanted to handle the situation was different than what a Dymond wanted to do. It was completely different. Because Millie got her hands full over here with Greg. I was happy to see the mother come in and meet Millie and meet Greg, meet Millie, and also to see the bond that Greg has with the mother. I thought it was really sweet. He was saying it's been 6 years since he even introduced a woman to his mother. So that's a big thing. And it was also good to see Millie's sister. And Millie's sister gave us some real good insight on Millie. Millie's sister, I think her name was Sophia, let it slip a couple of times that Millie got this sweet side, but she got this whole other side of her. And that's the side where Millie don't pull up with too much. I was starting to get the vibes of Millie, that Millie was having really, really, really high standards. And I'm not going to say a person shouldn't have high standards, but I was starting to get the idea about Millie, that Millie has a cycle in her relationships where she almost creates unattainable criteria for a man. And as a result, she actually never accepts a man. She rejects them. She runs away. She doesn't get in a relationship with them. And what that can do is it can make a man feel as if they're not good enough for her. And they can say, I like her because she has high standards. But the part they don't like about her is that they can never meet her standards. See, that's where Millie is residing right now. Millie has high standards. And men like the fact that she has high standards, that she isn't a woman who has low standards. But after a while, the men will start to realize that her standards are so high that even he can't attain her standards. But now we're finding out that these high standards are really just a wall. They're a safety system. You see, because what Millie has done is Millie has built up walls around herself, and her walls are her standards. You see, and I've always talked about these walls women put up. Walls not only keep you protected, they also keep good people out. So it's real good for people who want to protect themselves to put a euphemism on it and say, I have high standards. You see, let's say you are a woman who's scared of a relationship. You're scared of intimacy. You're scared of getting hurt. Instead of saying you've got walls and you're scared, what you could say is, I'm just going to develop a whole lot of standards. Standards that are so tough, that are so rigid, you can never even get into my life because you can't pass my standards. Because we've all been wondering, I really didn't know. I understand about not wanting to go to the boom boom room, but what I didn't understand about Millie was, why couldn't you have a passionate kiss? One in which you weren't backing up all the time. What's wrong with a passionate kiss after you've been talking on the phone and seeing each other for 3 years? What's wrong with a passionate kiss? Because it come to find out that that's part of her walls. It's not high standards. She wants to keep calling it high standards, but that's a euphemism. That's to throw you off the scent. What it really is, there are walls to protect her. And when we find out that she has some trauma because she was had the R word done to her at some point in her life, and she's carrying the effects of that. That's what we're finding out. I knew she didn't trust him. I knew she didn't trust Greg all the way. And I didn't know why she didn't trust him. I didn't know if Greg had done something to make her not trust him. The fact that they hadn't seen each other for 3 years, I thought maybe there is something Greg's been doing on the side that makes Millie not trust him. And all that could be true too. But also now that when Millie enters a relationship, she comes from not trusting from the get-go. Some people start a relationship not trusting, and then you have to get them off of that. You got to win their trust. Some people come to a relationship trusting the people, and then if you do something that makes them start to distrust you, then that's where the distrust comes in. Millie is a person that comes in that doesn't trust you from the beginning. From the beginning. So in the beginning, you were in the hole. And instead of saying that, instead of telling people that, what she says instead is, I have high standards. I need you to trust me. I need you to give me all these fluffy things. When she was describing all these flowery things she wants Greg to do, so she feels butterflies in her stomach, so she feels romanticized. When he said the way he kissed her, it wasn't organic. These are all excuses. So you can keep thinking it's you, it's not her. You didn't make it romantic enough. You didn't make the kiss romantic enough. That's why I didn't want it. That's why I didn't like it. So you're constantly jumping through hoops. And then eventually you think, dang, I've jumped through so many hoops for this woman, but yet it's still not enough for her, because you keep thinking it's the hoops, but really it's the wall. It's the wall, and what really is the wall is the trauma. Millie's in a bad cycle. She's in a bad cycle because she's reading how her relationships fail all wrong. She's reading them from the perspective probably that the man isn't doing enough. The man isn't showing me enough this. The man isn't doing this. The man isn't doing that. But what she probably isn't realizing is she has an overabundance of need for those things because she starts in her trauma position. It's like if you're thirsty. If I'm thirsty and I haven't drank in 1 hour and you give me 1 hour, you give me a glass of water, I'm fine. I'll feel good. But if I'm thirsty and I haven't drank for over a day, then I'm going to need a whole lot more from you. And that's where Millie starts in relationships. She needs a whole lot more to even get her to the point where women who don't have that trauma start from. And so when those men don't meet her expectations, she runs because she thinks it's the deficit with the men. But what she really needs to do is she actually needs to stay longer, because what she needs to realize is she's the one that has the deficit. She's the one that needs a whole lot more. She shouldn't be the one running, but she's scared. I get it. She runs before they will leave her. It's a dangerous cycle. It's really a horrible cycle when a person says, I feel like I'm left all the time. I feel like I'm left all the time. So what they end up doing is they end up running away before the other person can run away from them. It's a dangerous cycle. And until she goes and gets help for the part that she plays in this cycle, the cycle is not going to end, because it is going to be that. She's going to constantly feel she's either going to push the men away, they're going to give up, or she's going to run away. And it always ends in abandonment. And then it's going to keep continuing her cycle. I feel bad for Millie, but you know what? I still have a little bit of hope for her, because I feel like Greg does really like her. I'm wondering if Greg is going to be up for the job. And I'm wondering if Millie is going to be willing to recognize that she's got to do things differently as well, and not just expect all the work to come from Greg. And the same thing with Greg. One of the things that the mother said about Greg was not willing to do work on himself, that at earlier part of his life that he expected the woman to do all the work. And what the mother was recognizing him was that she's seen growth in him, that he was willing to do work on himself. These two can make it, but boy, it's going to be some work. It is going to be some work. He said that he liked the alpha part of Millie, but he might be misreading that part of Millie. He's reading that part of Millie that's strong, and he might be reading it as if it's coming from a place of confidence. But honestly, I think that strong part of Millie is actually coming from a place of fight or flight. I think it's actually coming from a weakened position. It's a difference between a person who enters a room strongly and confidently versus a person who charges into a room because they're scared. It's two different things. And I think Millie enters a room strongly because she's scared, not because she's confident. And so what Greg could be seeing in Millie is he thinks he's sensing this confidence in her, but really what it is a woundedness, and it's a frightenedness of it, where sometimes when people are frightened, they fight out of being frightened. They're not fighting because they feel strong and confident. And I think that could turn into something later on with them if they don't get the appropriate help. I think Millie is starting to realize she's a runner. She's a track star. Her sister is trying to tell her. I think she knows it comes from her past trauma. But what I'm wondering is what she's doing about it. What is she doing about it? This whole 3 years that they were dating online and on the phone, was Millie in therapy? Because if she's not in therapy, that tells me she's not doing enough. It's not enough to just get to the point where you recognize it and you know about it. Now you got to do something about it, because this idea that you don't have to do anything, you just got to go out and keep dating and finding the person who can put up with you as you are. This not going to work out here. I hope people don't use this method out here. Anybody using this method that says, I know I got issues, I know I got problems, but I'm just going to keep looking for the person who can deal with my issues and problems, that's not a good strategy. It's not, because it leads to a lot of starts and stops. It leads to a lot of breakups. It leads to a lot of people abandoning you, leaving you. And when that happens, it just creates a whole nother cycle of depression and feeling bad about yourself. You've got to stop the cycle. I want Millie to stop the cycle. She can get over this. She can move on and have a healthy relationship. Plenty of people do. It can be done. But she's got to stop pretending like her high standards are just because they're standards. No, her high standards are walls to protect her because of the way she feels she's distrustful from a past relationship. We might need to hear some more about Chris, because we know that his trauma comes from something in the past. He's alluded to it. And we're going to have to figure out what that comes from. because we know that there's something, and I think that next week we're going to hear more on that. I tell you, I'm so glad that LaShonda said that they got therapists on call to help these people, because a lot of these people really do need not only relationship therapy, they need some individual therapy. I ain't no therapist, but a lot of us out here can see some of these things pretty clearly from the outside looking in, and a lot of the people in the cast don't see it. They need some help. This stuff is getting deep, y'all. It is really getting deep. When we first started watching this show, I thought it was going to be all light and airy. I thought we were going to be kikiing and laughing. It was going to be some foolery. We were going to have a lot of fun. But I'm telling you, the type of conversations, the situations, the in-depth of these issues of these couples is getting heavy and deep. So anybody who thought that this show was going to be based on foolishness, we was all wrong, because the first episode, that's what we thought. But I'm clearly here to tell you that right now, the things that these couples are talking about is deep. It is not surface level stuff. It really isn't. But it's interesting. It really is interesting. So let me know what y'all think down below. I said a lot. Let me know what y'all think below, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.